Hello, and welcome to the Behavior Education Connection, the podcast that works to connect the world of behavior analysis and the world of education. We focus on topics important to behavior analysts who work in the public schools and those who support them. Join us and spend time gaining insights and ideas as our host talks with fellow behavior analysts as well as other experts in the field. Hello, and welcome to yet another episode of the Behavior Education Connection. I'm your host, Dr. Selena Layden, and I am excited to have two guests with me today, Wendy Lasek and Shauna Gardzell. Hello, ladies. How are you?
Hello, we're doing well. How are you?
I'm great. Hi, Wendy.
Hi, Selena. Thanks for having us.
Oh, I'm so excited to have you, and I'm excited for our topic today. Before we jump into our topic, if you all could just give yourselves a quick introduction. Shauna, if you want to go first.
Well, hello, everyone. I'm Shauna Gardzell. I am one of the educational specialists in Fairfax County Public Schools for the Applied Behavior Analysis Program.
Great. Wendy?
And I'm Wendy Lasek. No, just kidding. Wendy Lasek. Everyone calls me Wendy Lasek. And I'm one of the ABA coaches in the ABA program, and I work with Shauna.
Well, again, I'm really excited to have you here. And one of the things the main thing we're going to be talking about today is mentorship. And, mentorship is a really critical piece of that moment when you move from I'm a student, I'm working to get my BCBA, and now I'm actually practicing because, supervision kind of drops off then, or it should, because we don't need that level of supervision anymore, but we don't always have those formal things in place to support us. And so with that in mind, like, why is mentorship really important when you're working in public schools? And, what kind of led you to really consider this component?
In thinking about my years of coming into the ABA program and looking at my mentor, and it was more or less kind of like, okay, you just have somebody assigned to you to get you used to your new role as a coach, because I started as an ABA coach. And I think we started to realize like that just wasn't enough. It wasn't enough to help us be able to provide the supports and build the capacity of staff without having that mentorship in terms of growing our own skills. So I was fortunate enough to kind of spearhead taking that mentor program on and making some changes to it, so that it was more effective and beneficial for us as a team, but also looking at how do we take what we learn through the coursework or through our teaching experience and apply it to a coaching aspect.
Yeah, I like that. And I think, one of the things I think about with mentorship, and particularly in public schools, is most of us who work in public schools may not have had a lot of we may not be certified teachers. We may not be certified administrators. We are behavior analysts, right? And unless you were in one of those roles before you got your BCBA, which there are many people that did that, but there are many of us that didn't. I'm one of them. I worked very clinical settings and then decided to go in public schools. So there are all those skills that you didn't necessarily learn before you got into the public schools. And, I had the opportunity, I did a lot of my supervision while I was in my coursework in public schools, but I know that that's not true for everybody. So I don't know, Wendy, if you wanted to add anything.
Yeah, I think what's unique about our position being an ABA program within a public school division is a lot of people that get hired for this job come from all walks of life. I had a little bit of experience working in other public school systems, but a lot of experience working private. Some people came straight from the classroom, never with any private experience. Others had never worked in a public school system before. So our mentoring programs allows us to kind of tailor the needs based on the individual's background and what they need and what their goals are. So I think that's been a really helpful component as well, especially because I find personally that public schools tend to be a little bit more reactive and we tend to not practice what we preach. So the fact that we have a whole model of like 20 something itinerants that don't have caseloads of students so they can focus on professional development for teachers, I think is really unique.
Yeah, and I think it's fair, and I don't know if you all want to add a little bit of context, but Fairfax is a really big school district, right? When you say you have 20 of you, that sounds like a lot to many people who might be in a school district where they're the only one. So I don't know if you want to just give a little bit of background about Fairfax County.
So in Fairfax, we are divided into 6 regions. And I think the last time I checked in terms of number of classrooms that we support, we're over like 1,500 classrooms. So imagine how many students we're touching within those classrooms. And we
And
found
just to interrupt you for 1 second, but you're not providing direct services for 1,500 students,
correct. We
right?
are
You're
not.
supporting others to do that.
Correct. So
Okay.
we take the coaching model and look at it in terms of we can be more efficient and effective by providing professional development to the staff in the classroom versus providing those direct services to the students. We just find that it's a more efficient and effective way to implement ABA principles, verbal behavior, because we couldn't be there on a daily basis, even if we were providing direct services. So this allows the staff to be able to get that professional development and grow their skills and their analysis and be able to apply the principles. So that's our whole goal is building capacities to basically we don't need a job anymore. I mean, I hope that never happens, but
I don't think you have to worry. I think there will always be another one in line. But no, and I mean, I think that's the model of behavior analysis, right? Is ideally we do work ourselves out of a job. Just to give a little more context, so Fairfax is one of the largest school districts in the entire country. I haven't looked lately, but I know at last count when I saw you have over 200 schools in your district. Like that's a very large district. So when we talk about 1,500 classrooms and we talk about there's 20 of you, and we don't need to get too deep into the hierarchy, but there's also other BCBAs who do other things in your district. You have a lot of things going on. So if you're listening to this and you're like, wow, there's just little old me, just keep in mind that there's some structural differences to this district, but I think there's some really good nuggets of information. So let's dive a little deeper into the mentoring program. Tell me a little bit about, you kind of talked about it broadly, but tell me a little bit more about the history of this program and why it came about.
so when the ABA program became an FCPS, we actually had consultants that came on a monthly basis. They provided professional development to the coaches, as well as they would go out and observe with us in classrooms and coach us and mentor us in like how do you do this coaching model. So I mean, I kind of look at them as they were my mentors.
Yeah,
And
for
then
sure.
and we, budget constrictions always change things. And so with their mentorship, we started to build in our team kind of those mentor leaders. And we really looked at how did they receive feedback? How did they give feedback? What kind of tools did they have in their belt that they could share with classroom staff and with their colleagues? And so with that, we developed and we selected mentors, and then we decided instead of just kind of having your buddy that you go to with how do I do this, it really became you were paired with somebody based on what we assessed as kind of those strengths and areas for improvement, with a mentor that had those strengths, but also maybe would benefit from the mentee in developing some of their needs for improvement. With the consultant, I mean, they started with us in 2002. So this has been in progress for a long time. And they left us in 2000 in, I want to say, maybe 11. So at that
12, it
time,
was like a year after I left. I mean, after I started and then they left.
Okay. Yeah, 2012. It's hard to keep track of the timelines. Sometimes the years just seem to run together.
Very much
Um,
so.
and we still felt that we needed that level of mentorship. And so, like when we were looking at strengths and needs on the team and determining who would be those best mentors, who had those leadership skills, and we identified I became the lead mentor at that time. We paired people up. We looked at how do we develop professional development for the mentors on the team so that we can continue to build their skills. And it's just kind of evolved from there. Everybody on our team has a mentor. After that mentor program, then we started having specialist roles. So there became a change too. And our team started to grow a little bit. I moved into the specialist role, and Wendy's been lucky enough to move into the lead, one of the co-lead mentors, because our team has grown. And Wendy, I think you can probably talk better from this point on about the mentor program.
Yes. So we have evolved because I remember just going back to when I started, I was assigned a mentor and it wasn't quite flushed out exactly what this role was supposed to look like. And so it became much more defined over the years. So I also don't want people listening to this to think like, wow, like now we have this like highly structured tiered system and it's very like, analyzed and structured. It's like we started off just kind of like, here, Wendy, here's your mentor. Go on visits together, I guess, help her out. So it has been cool to kind of be in this role for that time period and see it evolve. I think something that I really want to drive home because I think I realize people, might look at it and think of, oh, mentoring, I'm learning my job, I'm learning how to be a better coach. But even besides all of that, I think the relationship building on our team has been really impactful. And I think there's something to be said when you're put in leadership positions, those relationship dynamics within the team. So we all, there's a lot of trust, there's friendships. We really have each other's backs because working for the school system can be difficult. So yes, we're going to work on different technique styles and coaching styles and all of that is well and good, but that's just another really big impact of our program.
So I want to get deeper into what is your mentoring program? Like what does it look like? What are the core components, would you say, of what you do? Because it does sound like it's more than just like, hey, Wendy, here's your mentor, go hang out, which I think unfortunately is what a lot of mentoring programs are because people aren't really sure how to structure these very well.
And I think that's a good question, because as Wendy said, I mean, it has evolved. Some of it has been kind of trial and error.
Of course.
And in some of the structures that we have in place, like we have developed a mentor framework and we kind of lay out what the expectations are in terms of the mentor and what the expectations are in terms of the mentee. Like we realize, relationship building takes some time to gain that trust, but it is understanding that we are a team, we are all trying to improve our skills. So we all do have expectations and play a part in a role. So that's made very clear up front. And then I think it's also, we kind of started structuring a little bit like what a mentor visit would look like in terms of if the mentor goes out with the mentee, whether it would be the mentor school or the mentee school, it's taking that time to pre-brief and say, well, what are your goals? What are you hoping to hit? Depending on the mentee, they may have to ask some more open-ended questions to make sure that they're really planned going into the classroom. and then debriefing afterwards and really walking the mentee through a self-reflection process. We all have gotten really good at the art of asking questions because have found like that art is what really helps you get that deep, deep self-reflection. And that's where we think change begins, is when you can reflect and say, oh, yeah, I didn't do real great at that. Or, oh, I really did this well, but I could improve it even with this.
Yeah, so on one hand, we have building the capacity of the teachers we support, but we use a similar framework in developing the capacity of our coaches. We want our teachers to become self-reflective. We want them to develop those pivot behaviors and start to generalize and to start to really, self-reflect and make decisions for themselves without us having to come in and handhold through each, troubleshooting problem that they might encounter. And it goes the same way with our coaches. So it's kind of nice that we've developed this model internally.
Yeah, I think you bring up some really good points. I do love that there's kind of a structured purpose to the time together. I mean, I know I've had mentors assigned to me, and we get together, and I'm just kind of like, I don't really know what we're supposed to do. And the mentor's like, I don't really know what we're supposed to do. And so we talk for like a little while, but I don't know that it's really all that productive. Other than like now I have a connection, and sure, that's great. And sometimes that in and of itself can be very valuable. But I do like the idea of, okay, we're going to have specific goals. And so let's talk about them before. So we're on the same page. And then let's debrief afterwards to figure out, do we hit those goals? Are we working towards those goals? Or wow, we're not really moving towards those goals in the way we think we might be. And I agree with you. I think self-reflection is such a critical skill that have, I'm not sure we set aside time for that in a purposeful way. And not everybody does that naturally. And so having that kind of systematic plan in place to make sure that that happens, I think is really critical. So, one question I do have for you is, how did you get administrative support for this? Because I mean, this takes time and resources, right? Which I think is great and it is what we should be doing. But to your point earlier, budgets can be tight, and sometimes we don't all recognize the value in the same way. And so how did you get administrators to buy into this?
Our administrator from the very beginning believed in mentoring, just from having the consultants mentor her as she moved up into the administrative position. I think, to be honest, the most difficult buy-in was actually amongst the team when we really started to structure it.
Oh,
Um,
interesting.
it was interesting. There was definitely some pushback. Um, some people feeling like, well, why are they being chosen? Why aren't we being chosen to be the mentor? And um, I, I I think because we continue to talk about it and have transparency about what our end goal was, we were able to get that buy-in from everybody. And like Wendy said earlier, it just really has brought us, I think, closer together as a team. And I think our dynamics on the team are more about mutual respect, and wanting to see everybody succeed versus sometimes the drama you get into when you work on a team.
Yeah, that's unavoidable. We're definitely not picture perfect as much as I talk about how like because as a whole, I've watched, coaches come and go, and from 2011, I think, when I started till now, it's like there's a lot of new team members, and I feel like now we're at a place where the drama is minimized, but there were definitely some peaks and valleys throughout the way. I mean, that's just the nature of the game, right?
So what were some of those barriers, and not the drama specifically, but what were some of the barriers that you kind of encountered as you were trying to set this up? Because I think it's really interesting that the team buy-in was a little bit challenging. I think a lot of people when they come into new roles are like, oh, I do want a mentor. And I see one of the struggles is like one person can't be your mentor for everything. And it sounds like you do all, even though you have assigned mentors, you have a team approach in this as well. But what were some of the other barriers that you all encountered?
I mean, I do think some of the barriers that we came across as the team was one time, right? I mean,
Always.
time is always a barrier. And I do think us presenting it to a team as this is a priority, we were able to overcome that barrier. I think another barrier is, without necessarily the drama, we're all very analytical people and we overthink things. And we start doing a comparison of, of each other versus let me reflect on myself and what I need to do to change my behavior to get, to potentially be a mentor or be a part of developing the program. I think those were the biggest barriers, which is why we have really made sure that we work on self-reflection to a great deal.
I can also say another barrier for me as a mentor is teetering that line between what becomes an administrative concern and what is an actual mentoring obstacle. I think it's, I'm not anyone's supervisor just because I'm in a leadership role. I'm not an administrator as Shauna and the rest of our admin team. So there definitely can be some gray area in knowing who the go-to person is when there's a concern, as well as maintaining people's confidentiality and keeping
Mhm.
the focus on, mentoring in terms of, building the skill sets, but not feeling like I'm in an evaluative role. That can be
Yeah.
challenging.
And I think that's a really critical point to a successful mentoring program is if you are a person's administrator who does their evaluation, like I think it's really hard for people to be honest and well, actually, I'm really struggling with this, or I have no idea what you're talking about. I don't know what I'm supposed to do here, versus someone who is maybe hierarchically in a different spot, but they're not your supervisor. And so
Mhm.
being able to say, actually, Wendy, I really don't understand what I'm supposed to do, and I need help. Because to your point, I think self-reflection is critical. And if you are able to be reflective enough to say, I need help with this, then the next step is, well, who can I ask for help from without feeling like I'm going to get my hand slapped because I don't know how to do something that's part of my job?
Yeah, when I started as a
Absolutely.
coach, that really made me feel extremely insecure is people's thinking of what the team would, think of me and be like, why did they hire her? Why doesn't she know this already? And I'm definitely over that by now, but it's human nature for sure. So that's where that relationship building really comes into play.
Yeah, and I think also with the relationship building, I think another thing besides self-reflection that we really try to incorporate into the mentor program is like working on communication styles and skills. Like Wendy said, I mean, even though I'm in a specialist role, quite honestly, I don't have any evaluative authority. But it is like how you communicate and talk to people and listen to people that makes them feel comfortable and want to share, and kind of get over that fear of, oh, they're judging me, they're evaluating me, and recognizing that no, this really is a partnership.
Yeah, I will say when I used to work in the school districts and I knew people would come into like equivalent roles of what I had, which is similar kind of in that coaching support central office role. One of the things I would say to them is you've entered a very strange role, right? You actually have absolutely no authority, but you have a ton of responsibility. So there's lots of things you're responsible to ensure it occurs, but you have no authority to make that happen. And so the only way you're going to be successful is to build those relationships, build those partnerships, get people to trust you and work alongside them. So I agree. And I think this is a really great opportunity to say, hey, and here's some mentorship for you. Not just for your classroom teachers, which that part is really common, I think, but also for the people who are providing that support, which that's the part that I think is really unique about what you all are doing, is ensuring that, you know, the mentors have a mentor. You have people who you can go to and say, I'm not feeling super secure in this. I'm having a hard time with this problem. I need to talk through how to best do this. And I think that BCBA role can be very lonely sometimes because we're kind of expected to know what we're doing and we're kind of expected to have all the answers, right? If students are engaging in challenging or interfering behavior, we're supposed to come in and wave a magic wand, and that doesn't happen. We know that. But when that's the expectation, it can be really challenging to come in and you can't just wave a magic wand and make things better. And sometimes we do need to go to other people and say, hey, I need to talk through this with you. I really am struggling here.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's one of the things that we do tell new coaches as they come in. It takes almost 3 years to get used to the role. B, you have to reflect on yourself because you also need to be able to reinforce yourself. Because unfortunately, in our roles, we don't necessarily get a lot of reinforcement or we don't see like immediate change. And it can be it can be very daunting in what's the word I'm looking for? Just kind of making you feel like, am I even effective? And I I really have tried with the mentors and even the people I've been a mentor for of saying we have to remember it's not always about what the staff are doing or how the students have changed. It's how we're growing and experiencing, and we need to figure out what those indicators are for ourselves.
Yes. And another thing, listening to you bring that up about BCBA, Selena, and I, belong to a lot of Facebook social media groups like a lot of us probably do. And you see BCBAs being like, do I even know what I'm doing? I feel like I'm on a lonely island and this and that. And I think what's interesting about our role is we fall under the ABA program, and a lot of us do hold BCBAs. And that's very confusing because I'm an educator. I'm a teacher helping teachers. And I think that can be difficult, especially for new coaches coming on who maybe have worked in a more traditional BCBA role to come into our job and be like, but I want to have that control over these students' programs, and this teacher's not following recommendations. So, then this kid's not making progress and they're not implementing things. And like, it can be really challenging for people to kind of let go of that, knowing that you're not their evaluator and you're just there for support. It's really up to having administrative support within the school building in order to really see that change be reinforced.
Yeah, so one of the things I do kind of want to, as we're wrapping up a little bit, I'd love to hear your thoughts on, so what are the benefits to this? I mean, there's clear benefits, right? Like your coaches are growing and continuing their skills, but I imagine there might be some other benefits that you've found.
I think some of the benefits are that we can have effect on more students through this coaching model and the mentor program. I think we also serve as kind of a model for other teams within FCPS when they look at our mentor program, which is kind of cool.
So I think one of the big impacts a program like ours has is in helping with teacher retention and reducing staff turnover. One of the things that I've learned in my admin cohort, which is probably no surprise to anyone, is professional development is one of the number one benefits of retention that maintains retention. And I think we lose sight of that because that's also the first to get cut when senior leadership is looking at budgets and where to cut. You feel like a sitting duck as an itinerant because you don't have a caseload of students. So you're quickly able to be pulled to fill any high needs. And we are in a teacher shortage. So I do think, that we've been able to maintain the integrity of the program has really helped, because I think one of the number one reasons teachers leave is not just for pay. Yes, that's one component, but I think the lack of training and being able to feel like they can perform their job.
Yeah, and I will say I've read quite a bit about it. I mean, not in behavior analysis and education alone, like, but in general, people don't quit jobs because of the pay. I mean, pay is important and we all need to make a living wage and all of those things. I don't want to deny that. But people quit jobs because of a lot of other factors. And a lot of times it's, I don't feel supported. I don't feel like I have the resources I need to do what I'm supposed to do. And when you have programs like this, I imagine people do feel more supported. They feel like they have people to go to and draw upon, and get the support that they need, both at your teacher level and at your coaching level, right? Being a
Absolutely.
coach and moving from building to building can be challenging. And so being able to say, well, I have a mentor that I can go to and get that support and get that help, I imagine is only benefits everybody.
Absolutely. It does benefit everybody. I mean, I think about like just the coach retention. I mean, Wendy's been on the team since 2012. I've been on the team since 2008. Like we we have so many team members that have been on the team for 10 plus years. Now, granted, we have some transient people that move, so we get new, but it's also cool to see because I think teachers see our team like they see mentors and mentees going out to their classrooms that they want the coach roles as well. So we have that benefit of we are exciting other people to take on a role that is going to affect more students than just necessarily staying in the classroom.
Yeah, I think that's really important. And I'll be honest, I think, especially for our school-based BCBAs, I think that's a reason a lot of us go into these kinds of roles, right? Like we love working with kids, we love supporting kids, but we see the bigger difference that's possible by being in a role supporting others to make that difference too. Because now I can touch more kids, I can influence more adults to improve their performance and those kinds of things. So this kind of brings us to a nice little wrapping up with a bow kind of moment, but is there anything else that you all would like to add?
I know I can say for myself, if it wasn't for the leadership on our team, like Shauna and our other two specialists and our program manager, who, it's like I wouldn't have stayed. And I think that goes for teachers in school buildings as well. I do think that, teachers look to our support as being extremely valuable. And I think it's what's distinguishing Fairfax County from other divisions. Like, I'd love to see other divisions in our county have more innovative programs, but it's just always hard to, get that proactive mindset or think like they need a BCBA on the board of supervisors. Do you have to cut that out?
Well, I mean, I just think behavior analysis should take over the world. Let's be honest. So,
Yeah, we all do.
Absolutely. I think another thing to add is, like you're hearing about it from an FCPS perspective, right? And we are a really big county, but developing a mentor program can happen anywhere in any size county, and it just takes a thought process and like really kind of saying, okay, let's try this. Oh, this didn't work. We learned from this. How do we move on? And we're always happy to collaborate with people and share like our experiences and our resources to help people get their mentor program going wherever they may be.
well, I think that's a very kind offer of you all. And if you're okay with it, we can put your contact information in the show notes and people can reach out if they have questions because I do think I love collaboration and I love that when people have things figured out, we should learn from what people have already had to work through because it is trial and error, but we don't all have to have the same trials. So
Exactly.
all right. So with that, thank you so much, Shauna and Wendy. I really appreciate your time and the conversation today. This has been really great information. And to our listeners, we will see you on our next episode.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of the Behavior Education Connection. Join us next time for another great conversation about behavior analysis in the schools. And don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out on an episode. Sending out a special thanks to the Virginia Department of Education for supporting our work. We look forward to connecting with you all again soon.